Happiness and respect are two pillars of a meaningful life. Yet, despite our best intentions, certain habits can erode the respect others have for us, sometimes without us even noticing. We're often quick to adopt behaviors that seem harmless, but gradually build up to create perceptions that damage our social standing, relationships, and sense of self-worth. Ancient wisdom, particularly from Stoicism and other philosophical traditions, has long warned about the subtle behaviors that lead to the loss of respect. From unnecessary complaints to a lack of accountability, each behavior subtly chips away at the foundation of our character and, by extension, the respect we receive from others. The Stoics were clear on one thing: respect is inseparable from virtue. It cannot be feigned or forced, but must be earned by living a life of discipline, integrity, and compassion. Today, many behaviors that cost us respect stem from either insecurity or the unchecked influence of a fast-paced, validation-seeking culture. However, respect remains rooted in timeless principles that encourage self-awareness, emotional resilience, and a commitment to truth. Let's explore some common habits that unknowingly lead to the loss of respect and examine how we can correct these behaviors with insights drawn from Stoicism, Buddhism, and other wisdom traditions. Now, if you are new here, please like the video and subscribe. Statistics show that only 15% of my audience is subscribed to the channel, so if this content has helped you in any way, I ask you to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Habit 1. Complaining excessively. Complaining is an easy habit to fall into. When life feels overwhelming or unfair, vocalizing dissatisfaction can seem like a natural way to release stress. However, constant complaining makes people seem powerless and overly focused on the negative. Over time, this creates an impression of helplessness, and others may start to see the individual as someone who cannot manage their own life, thereby losing respect. From a Stoic perspective, complaining is largely seen as a waste of energy because it emphasizes things outside of one's control. In the words of Epictetus, it is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. When we complain, we're choosing to dwell on difficulties rather than finding solutions or accepting challenges with grace. Stoicism teaches that we should cultivate a mindset of resilience, where external challenges are met with an internal calm and determination. Instead of complaining, ancient philosophy advocates for a mindset shift. By redirecting our focus from external circumstances to our response to those circumstances, we build resilience and gain respect from others. For example, if we find ourselves frequently complaining about work, traffic, or the weather, it's a sign that we are investing too much emotional energy in factors beyond our control. The practice of gratitude, widely recognized in both Stoicism and Buddhism, can serve as an antidote to excessive complaining. Instead of focusing on what's wrong, we train ourselves to acknowledge and appreciate what's good. This approach not only creates a more positive mindset, but also encourages others to see us as resilient individuals capable of handling adversity, which naturally earns respect. Habit 2. Bragging or self-promotion. Bragging is a behavior that often springs from insecurity. Many people believe that by promoting their achievements, they will earn admiration and respect. However, excessive self-promotion tends to have the opposite effect. Rather than seeing the braggart as successful or accomplished, people may start viewing them as insecure, needy, or even self-centered. Aristotle's concept of megalopsyche, or greatness of soul, emphasizes the value of humility and warns against the need to constantly seek acknowledgement. A person of true greatness doesn't feel the need to advertise their accomplishments because their worth is already understood through their actions and character. This idea of quiet confidence is also prominent in Confucian philosophy, where true respect comes from fulfilling one's roles and responsibilities without drawing attention to oneself. The moment we start bragging, we turn the spotlight onto ourselves, and this can come across as insecure, thereby damaging the respect others may have for us. Instead, humility and a focus on action rather than words tend to generate genuine respect. When we refrain from boasting, people are more likely to appreciate our achievements when they see them naturally, unprompted. Self-assured individuals do not feel the need to validate themselves through others' admiration, and this quiet strength is often what earns them true respect. Chapter C. Habit 3. Interrupting others. Constantly interrupting others is another habit that instantly undermines respect. In conversations, interrupting signals that one values their own words over the thoughts of others, which often comes across as self-centered and dismissive. Instead of fostering a balanced exchange, interruptions disrupt the natural flow of dialogue, frustrating others and diminishing their sense of being heard. This habit shows a lack of self-control and respect for others' thoughts, which can lead people to lose respect for the interrupter. Confucianism, which emphasizes social harmony, considers the ability to listen fully and respond appropriately as a mark of a respectful person. Harmony in conversation, according to Confucian thought, is about creating a respectful balance where everyone feels their voice is valued. Stoicism, too, places great importance on patience and self-control. A Stoic would advise that we refrain from interrupting and instead practice listening with attention and intention. By listening actively, we demonstrate respect for others, making them feel valued and more open to engaging with us. This doesn't mean we should withhold our thoughts indefinitely, but that we should allow the other person to finish speaking before adding our perspective. Active listening, which involves making eye contact, nodding, and responding appropriately, creates a conversational flow that reflects mutual respect. In turn, people tend to respond positively to such behavior, deepening mutual respect. Habit 4. Gossiping and speaking ill of others. Gossip may seem harmless, but it often leads to unintended consequences. Speaking ill of others not only casts a negative light on those discussed, but also reflects poorly on the speaker. Those who gossip tend to be seen as untrustworthy because people naturally wonder if they, too, will become a target when they're not around. Gossip creates a sense of unease, signaling that the person lacks integrity and empathy, and over time, this erodes respect. Stoicism strongly warns against the urge to speak ill of others. According to Epictetus, speaking negatively about others does nothing to elevate our own character, but instead lowers us to a baser level. Rather than gossiping, Stoic philosophy encourages focusing on one's own self-improvement. If there is an issue with someone's behavior, addressing it directly and constructively shows maturity and respect. Alternatively, if it's a matter that doesn't impact us directly, Stoicism advises letting go and allowing others to live their lives without judgment. Respect, in this context, is maintained by demonstrating discretion and self-restraint. This behavior also aligns with Buddhist teachings on right speech, which encourages speaking kindly and truthfully while avoiding harmful or divisive language. In refraining from gossip, we build a reputation as someone who respects others' dignity and privacy, which naturally fosters respect in return. Habit 5. Being excessively defensive. Defensiveness is a natural reaction to criticism, but when it becomes excessive, it can signal insecurity and a lack of emotional maturity. People who react defensively to even minor critiques may appear unwilling to learn or grow, which can cause others to lose respect for them. Excessive defensiveness can create a barrier to open communication, making it difficult for others to engage in constructive dialogue. The Stoics understood that while we cannot control others' opinions or criticisms, we can control how we respond to them. By treating criticism as an opportunity for self-reflection rather than an attack on our character, we cultivate emotional resilience and self-respect, which, in turn, earns the respect of others. A helpful approach to reducing defensiveness is to view feedback objectively. Not all criticism is accurate or fair, but it often contains at least a kernel of truth that can lead to personal growth if approached openly. For instance, if someone points out a shortcoming in our work, responding with curiosity and a willingness to improve rather than a defensive retort shows emotional strength. This mindset is not about passive acceptance, but rather about assessing the feedback without letting it damage our self-worth. Respect is often earned by demonstrating the ability to listen to feedback, acknowledge areas for improvement, and respond gracefully. Over time, this practice builds a reputation as someone who is self-assured and open-minded, qualities that inspire respect in others. In these first 5 habits, we've begun to uncover how certain behaviors, complaining, bragging, interrupting, gossiping, and being overly defensive, can erode respect. Each habit reflects an aspect of personal conduct that either lacks discipline, empathy, or self-awareness, all of which are core to earning genuine respect. Stoic and other philosophical teachings provide us with powerful alternatives, encouraging us to cultivate resilience, humility, attentiveness, integrity, and emotional intelligence in our daily lives. By understanding why these habits undermine respect and learning to replace them with healthier behaviors, we set the foundation for not only gaining respect from others, but also building a stronger, more self-respecting character. In the next section, we'll continue to examine more habits that diminish respect and how we can counteract them through mindfulness, self-restraint, and philosophical wisdom. Continuing from the previous section, we dive further into behaviors that can quietly erode respect and damage our relationships with others. These habits, while seemingly minor at first, often reveal deeper issues in our mindset or values. Understanding and addressing these habits can help us cultivate healthier, more respectful interactions and foster a personal integrity that others will naturally admire. Let's explore more habits that can lead to a loss of respect and examine how ancient wisdom can guide us in replacing them with healthier alternatives. Habit 6. Neglecting personal accountability. One of the quickest ways to lose respect is to avoid taking responsibility for our actions. When we constantly shift blame, make excuses, or downplay our mistakes, people begin to see us as unreliable and untrustworthy. A lack of accountability reflects an unwillingness to grow, which makes it difficult for others to view us as mature or capable. In Stoicism, taking responsibility for one's actions is essential to developing a disciplined and honorable character. Stoic philosophy emphasizes that we cannot control what happens around us, but that we are always accountable for how we respond. Avoiding responsibility only hinders personal growth, leading to a cycle of poor choices and repeated mistakes. Owning up to our actions, on the other hand, builds credibility and strengthens relationships. When we acknowledge our role in a problem or mistake, we signal that we are both self-aware and willing to learn. This habit of accountability doesn't only inspire respect from others, it also fosters personal growth. Acknowledging our errors allows us to make better choices moving forward, turning mistakes into valuable learning experiences. A practical approach to this involves regularly self-reflecting, as the Stoics recommended, on our decisions and actions. By routinely examining where we fell short and how we can improve, we set a positive example for others and become more respectable in their eyes. Habit 7. Engaging in passive-aggressive behavior. Passive aggressiveness often arises from an inability to communicate feelings or frustrations directly. Instead of expressing concerns openly, we may resort to subtle jabs, backhanded compliments, or indirect criticism. While this may seem like a safe way to avoid confrontation, it only breeds confusion and mistrust in others. The people around us are left feeling disrespected or uncertain of where they stand, and over time, this erodes their respect. Ancient philosophies like Confucianism and Stoicism place high value on clear, honest communication, viewing it as essential to maintaining harmonious relationships and personal integrity. Rather than resorting to passive-aggressive behavior, Stoicism encourages directness and honesty. Practicing straightforward communication fosters clarity and strengthens relationships. If something is troubling us, discussing it openly and respectfully helps resolve issues without creating an atmosphere of resentment or tension. Furthermore, speaking directly about our needs or boundaries builds a sense of personal integrity. This approach requires courage and emotional awareness, but it ultimately earns us respect. In relationships, whether personal or professional, practicing open communication and avoiding passive-aggressive tactics cultivates trust and strengthens connections. You have now reached the halfway mark of the video. I congratulate you for trying to become a better version of yourself, and I also humbly ask you to leave a comment, as it helps my channel immensely. If you do not know what to comment, just write "better every day" so I know you reached this far. And don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. Also, I've linked some books on Stoicism that helped me become the man I am today and will also help you achieve a Stoic mindset. Habit 8. Being overly critical or judgmental. Criticism, when delivered constructively, can be helpful. However, when we frequently judge or criticize others, it not only creates tension, but also projects our insecurities onto those around us. An overly critical nature signals to others that we are quick to focus on flaws, which discourages openness and trust. The Stoics, especially Marcus Aurelius, emphasized compassion and understanding as cornerstones of good character. In his Meditations, Marcus reminds himself to accept others as they are and focus on improving his own character rather than fixating on others' shortcomings. Criticizing others too often reflects a mindset that lacks empathy and understanding. In place of judgment, Stoicism encourages us to extend compassion and patience toward others, recognizing that everyone has unique struggles. This perspective not only makes us more likable, but also builds a sense of mutual respect. Practically speaking, this habit can be replaced by cultivating empathy, taking a moment to consider the challenges others face before passing judgment. For instance, if a colleague is underperforming, rather than criticizing them openly or behind their back, we could approach them with support or understanding, seeking to understand their circumstances. This compassionate approach earns us respect, as people naturally respond positively to those who show kindness and patience. Habit 9. Oversharing personal issues. In today's digital age, it has become increasingly easy to share our personal lives with the world. However, oversharing personal issues can sometimes come across as attention-seeking or a lack of discretion, making others uncomfortable and diminishing respect. Ancient wisdom from various philosophies, particularly Buddhism and Stoicism, encourages a level of detachment from our personal struggles. While discussing problems with close friends or seeking support is essential, constantly sharing every challenge with a wide audience can create the perception that we lack emotional stability or boundaries. rather than oversharing, it's beneficial to practice emotional resilience and maintain a level of privacy. The Stoics believed in building inner strength, handling challenges with grace, and sharing only what is necessary. By limiting the personal struggles we share publicly, we not only preserve our dignity, but also respect the comfort of others. When we do need support, seeking guidance from trusted friends or a close circle creates a more meaningful exchange. This approach aligns with the Buddhist practice of right speech, which emphasizes speaking purposefully and with respect for others' well-being. By being selective with what we share, we cultivate a calm, composed image that inspires respect. Habit 10. Failing to follow through on promises. Making promises we don't keep is one of the quickest ways to lose respect. Whether it's neglecting small commitments, like meeting deadlines, or larger ones, such as supporting friends, broken promises signal unreliability and disrespect for others' time and expectations. In Stoicism, trustworthiness and integrity are core values. The Stoics believed that a person's word should be their bond, and that fulfilling commitments, no matter how minor, is a matter of personal honor. To earn and maintain respect, it's important to only make promises we are confident we can keep. This means being honest with ourselves and others about our limitations and capacity. Overextending ourselves often leads to unfulfilled promises and damaged trust. A practical approach to building respect in this area is to prioritize commitments carefully and communicate transparently if unexpected challenges arise. When we demonstrate consistency in keeping our word, we build a solid reputation for reliability. This discipline also benefits us personally, as it aligns our actions with our values, reinforcing our sense of self-respect. Habit 11. Being inflexible or rigid. While it's important to have principles, being overly rigid or unwilling to adapt to new situations or ideas can make us seem closed-minded or controlling. Flexibility and adaptability are often seen as signs of maturity, humility, and respect for others' perspectives. Stoicism, while known for its discipline, also emphasizes adaptability in the face of changing circumstances. Epictetus reminds us that while we may not control external events, we can choose how we respond to them, which often requires flexibility. People respect those who can balance conviction with open-mindedness. Instead of clinging rigidly to our opinions or ways, embracing a willingness to learn and adapt shows that we respect others' ideas and recognize the fluid nature of life. This adaptability is particularly important in professional environments, where teamwork and collaboration are essential. When we approach new situations with openness, we demonstrate humility and a commitment to growth, qualities that naturally command respect. Practicing mindfulness, as taught in Buddhism, can help us become more aware of our tendencies toward rigidity and encourage us to remain flexible and receptive to change. Habit 12. Interrupting or overpowering conversations. When someone constantly interrupts or tries to dominate conversations, it often signals self-centeredness and a lack of respect for others' viewpoints. People who do this might not realize it, but it creates an uncomfortable environment and discourages others from fully participating. Confucianism and Stoicism alike promote respect in communication, advocating for patience, listening, and valuing the contributions of others in dialogue. This principle is also central to the concept of right speech in Buddhism, which stresses that words should be used thoughtfully and with consideration for others' well-being. Instead of interrupting or overpowering conversations, cultivating active listening fosters deeper respect and connection. Active listening means giving the speaker our full attention, refraining from planning our response while they are speaking, and acknowledging their points thoughtfully. By practicing this, we build a conversational style that respects others, making people feel valued and understood. Active listening also helps us learn from different perspectives, building wisdom and strengthening our relationships. This second section has highlighted some of the most common habits that can erode respect. From neglecting accountability and engaging in passive aggressiveness to oversharing and failing to keep promises, each of these habits reflects a lack of self-awareness or control that undermines our integrity. The wisdom of Stoicism, Buddhism, and other philosophies teaches us that true respect is earned by living a life of honor, integrity, and understanding. Through practicing accountability, humility, open-mindedness, and thoughtful communication, we develop a character that commands respect. In the next section, we'll continue exploring additional habits to avoid, focusing on those that impact our relationships and our sense of self-respect. By understanding these pitfalls and adopting more constructive behaviors, we can create a positive and respectful presence that others will naturally value and appreciate. Continuing to identify habits that quietly erode respect brings us closer to self-awareness, personal growth, and stronger, more authentic relationships. The following behaviors often slip under the radar, yet they significantly impact how others perceive us. Rooted in principles from Stoicism, Confucianism, and modern psychology, these insights reveal the subtle but profound ways our actions influence others' respect for us. Let's examine the final habits that can lead to a loss of respect, and more importantly, how we can consciously cultivate qualities that inspire admiration and trust. Habit 21. Avoiding responsibility or blaming others. Few behaviors damage respect more than failing to take responsibility for our actions or habitually blaming others for our mistakes. This behavior, often rooted in insecurity or fear of failure, conveys a lack of accountability and maturity. In Stoic philosophy, taking responsibility is seen as a pathway to growth and resilience, as it acknowledges that our reactions and choices are within our control. Avoiding accountability may offer short-term relief, but it ultimately weakens our credibility and the trust others place in us. Embracing responsibility involves owning our mistakes, learning from them, and taking action to improve. When we make an error, acknowledging it honestly and working to resolve it demonstrates both integrity and humility. This approach fosters a reputation for reliability and trustworthiness, as people feel they can rely on us to be honest and accountable. In contrast to deflecting blame, taking ownership of our actions strengthens relationships and cultivates a respect rooted in genuine accountability. Habit 22. Engaging in passive-aggressive behavior. Passive-aggressive behavior, such as giving silent treatment, making sarcastic comments, or indirectly expressing dissatisfaction, often erodes respect quickly. This approach to conflict sidesteps open communication and can create a tense, mistrustful environment. While passive-aggressive behavior might feel easier than directly addressing an issue, it ultimately fosters resentment and distance in relationships. Stoicism emphasizes direct, respectful communication as a means to resolve conflicts and uphold mutual respect. Replacing passive aggressiveness with open communication requires courage and a willingness to be vulnerable. Rather than holding on to unspoken grievances, sharing our concerns in a calm, constructive way leads to healthier, more respectful interactions. Clear communication fosters an atmosphere of trust and understanding, while passive-aggressive behavior communicates avoidance and resentment. When we approach conflicts with transparency, we earn respect by demonstrating both honesty and consideration for others' feelings. Habit 23. Constantly shifting opinions to please others. People quickly lose respect for those who constantly change their stance to align with popular opinion or to gain approval. This behavior reflects a lack of personal conviction and can make us appear insincere or untrustworthy. Stoic teachings encourage us to remain steadfast in our principles, even when they may not align with others' views. Adapting our beliefs solely for acceptance undermines both our authenticity and our integrity. To counter this habit, it's important to reflect on and understand our values, allowing them to guide our opinions and decisions. Holding firm to well-considered beliefs, even in the face of disagreement, demonstrates a commitment to authenticity and integrity. This doesn't mean we should be inflexible. Being open to reasoned discussion is vital. However, making decisions based on core values rather than external approval garners respect and fosters trust. Habit 24. Taking advantage of others' generosity. Taking advantage of people's kindness without reciprocating or showing appreciation is a quick way to lose respect. Those who regularly accept favors, help, or resources from others without expressing gratitude or offering help in return appear self-centered and ungrateful. Confucianism, among other traditions, stresses the importance of reciprocity and mutual respect, encouraging us to recognize and value others' contributions. To counter this habit, make a conscious effort to express genuine gratitude for others' generosity and to reciprocate when possible. Even small gestures, like a simple thank you note or an offer to help, show appreciation for others' kindness. Building reciprocal relationships based on gratitude and generosity creates an environment of mutual respect and trust. When we recognize and value others' efforts, we earn respect for being considerate and appreciative. Habit 25. Exhibiting a know-it-all attitude. Acting as though we always have the right answer or dismissing others' ideas without consideration can make us appear arrogant or closed-minded. This habit reflects a need for control and a desire to appear knowledgeable, yet it often has the opposite effect, driving others away. Humility, a core Stoic virtue, involves recognizing that we can always learn from others and that no one holds all the answers. Replacing a know-it-all attitude with curiosity and openness fosters respect and engagement. Showing interest in others' perspectives, asking questions, and being open to learning enriches our understanding and creates an atmosphere of mutual respect. People are more likely to respect those who demonstrate a willingness to listen and learn than those who insist on being the authority in every situation. Practicing humility and curiosity strengthens relationships and promotes a culture of respect and collaboration. Habit 26. Making promises. You can't keep failing to keep promises, whether small or large, erodes respect over time. Each unkept promise weakens trust, giving the impression that our words hold little weight. Whether we overcommit out of good intentions or habitually fail to follow through, others may perceive us as unreliable or disingenuous. The Stoic emphasis on integrity encourages us to speak and act with intention, ensuring that our words align with our actions. Building a habit of only making commitments we can honor is key to cultivating respect. Before agreeing to something, take a moment to consider whether you can realistically follow through. Being honest about our limitations demonstrates maturity and integrity, as it reflects a commitment to living with authenticity. When we consistently honor our commitments, we build a reputation for reliability and respect. Habit 27. Overly comparing yourself to others. While occasional self-comparison is natural, consistently measuring our worth against others can lead to feelings of inadequacy, jealousy, and resentment. This habit often manifests in dismissive comments, subtle undermining, or a general lack of support for others' achievements. The Stoics encourage self-reflection based on personal values and goals rather than the accomplishments of others, promoting inner satisfaction and contentment. To counter this habit, shift your focus from comparison to personal growth. Set goals based on your values and track your progress against your own benchmarks, not others. Recognize that everyone's path is unique and celebrate others' successes as an inspiration rather than a threat. Cultivating this mindset not only increases self-respect, but also fosters admiration from others who appreciate our self-assurance and positivity. These final habits complete our journey through behaviors that subtly erode respect. From a lack of accountability to passive-aggressive communication, each habit highlights the importance of self-awareness, integrity, and respect for others. By consciously working to eliminate these tendencies, we can cultivate relationships based on mutual respect, admiration, and trust. Moving forward with respect. Applying the wisdom of Stoicism, Buddhism, and other philosophies to address these habits helps us build character, authenticity, and resilience. Practicing humility, accountability, empathy, and self-awareness lays the foundation for a life of integrity and respect. Embracing these virtues not only transforms how others perceive us, but also strengthens our inner sense of self-worth and purpose. Whether in personal relationships, professional settings, or casual interactions, these habits underscore the importance of aligning our actions with our principles. By addressing behaviors that undermine respect, we make room for qualities that naturally command admiration and trust. Ultimately, the journey toward cultivating respect begins within, as we strive to embody values that honor both ourselves and those around us. Now, if any part of this message has been helpful to you, leave us your like and comment, helping the algorithm recommend it to someone who needs it at this time. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss new videos. And if you look through the videos we've already uploaded, you're sure to find something to take with you. Have a good day. Have you ever held back on saying something important or pursuing a dream because of what people might think? Maybe it was a bold idea, a personal truth, or even something as simple as wearing an outfit you loved, only to second-guess yourself because you feared judgment. It's an all-too-common feeling, that tightness in your chest, the quick calculation of risks versus rewards, and the ultimate decision to play it safe. But what if I told you that this fear, the fear of being disliked, is quietly stealing your freedom? From the moment we're born, we crave acceptance. It's an instinct wired deep into our survival mechanisms. Back in the days of small tribes and unforgiving environments, being liked could literally mean the difference between life and death. If your group cast you out, your chances of survival plummeted. That primal fear still lingers in us today, even though the stakes are much lower. Instead of survival, we fear things like embarrassment, exclusion, or criticism. But here's the paradox. The harder we try to be universally liked, the more we sacrifice our authenticity. We smile when we don't feel like it, agree when we don't believe it, and mold ourselves into shapes we think will fit into other people's expectations. What we don't realize is that this comes at a cost to our happiness, our sense of purpose, and ultimately, our freedom. Think about the moments when you've held yourself back. Maybe you hesitated to speak up at work, afraid your idea might be dismissed. Or maybe you stayed in a relationship or friendship long past its expiration date because you didn't want to be the bad guy. Those moments may seem small, but over time they add up. Every time you prioritize avoiding conflict over living your truth, you give up a little piece of yourself. This isn't about rejecting others or living a life devoid of connection. It's about reclaiming your autonomy. Because the truth is, if you live in fear of being disliked, you'll always be controlled by other people. Their opinions will dictate your decisions, their expectations will shape your actions, and their judgments will weigh heavier on your soul than your own sense of what's right. Now, welcome to the channel. If you're new here, make sure to like the video and hit that subscribe button. Only 15% of my audience is currently subscribed, so if these insights resonate with you, I'd love for you to join our community and turn on the notification bell to stay updated. But what does it really mean to embrace being disliked? It doesn't mean becoming abrasive or indifferent to others. It means recognizing that other people's opinions are not your responsibility. Think about it this way. If someone dislikes you for being honest or standing up for yourself, that dislike is a reflection of their perspective, not your worth. Their reactions are shaped by their own fears, biases, and insecurities. You can't control those things, no matter how much you try. There's a profound freedom in letting go of the need to be universally liked. It's the kind of freedom that philosophers have written about for centuries. The Stoics, for instance, taught that we should focus only on what we can control, our thoughts, actions, and values, and let go of everything else. Other people's opinions, entirely outside your control. By placing so much weight on them, you're giving away your power to something you can never truly influence. And it's not just the Stoics who understood this. The existentialists, like Jean-Paul Sartre, believed that our essence, our true self, is created by our choices, not by the expectations of others. When you shape your life around what other people think, you're essentially living a life that isn't yours. You become a prisoner to their judgments. Letting go of the need for approval is scary because it feels like stepping into the unknown. What happens if someone doesn't like me? What if I'm judged? The truth is, you will be. You can't please everyone. Even the most admired people in history had their critics. Socrates was sentenced to death for his ideas. Galileo was condemned for challenging the status quo. These figures embraced being disliked because they knew their convictions mattered more than temporary approval. Imagine for a moment living a life where you weren't constantly worried about what others thought. What would change? Would you speak up more? Take risks, follow a passion you've been suppressing? That version of you is waiting just on the other side of this fear. One of the hardest parts of letting go of approval seeking is untangling your sense of identity from the opinions of others. Many of us were raised to believe that our worth is tied to how well we fit into certain roles, being a good friend, a reliable co-worker, or a loving partner. These roles are important, but when they become the sole measure of our value, we lose ourselves. Instead of defining yourself by how others see you, start by asking, what do I stand for? What values guide me? Integrity, courage, compassion. When your sense of self is rooted in values rather than opinions, you become unshakable. Criticism might sting, but it won't define you. Of course, this is easier said than done. Fear of rejection is deeply ingrained in us, but like any fear, it loses its grip when we face it head-on. Start small. Say no to something you don't want to do, even if it disappoints someone. Share an opinion, even if it's unpopular. Each time you do, you'll realize that the world doesn't fall apart when someone disagrees with you. In fact, you'll feel stronger for standing your ground. There's another benefit to embracing being disliked: authenticity. When you stop trying to fit into everyone else's mold, you create space to become who you truly are. People may not always like the real you, but the ones who matter will respect you for it. And isn't that better than being liked for a version of yourself that doesn't even feel real? So the next time you catch yourself hesitating, ask yourself this: am I doing this because it's true to me, or because I want someone's approval? If it's the latter, consider the price you're paying. Living for approval is like running on a treadmill. You expend all your energy, but never move forward. It's time to step off that treadmill, embrace the discomfort of being disliked. In doing so, you'll discover a deeper sense of freedom, a clearer sense of purpose, and most importantly, a version of yourself that isn't shaped by the opinions of others. Have you ever found yourself avoiding a decision, not because it was the wrong thing to do, but because of how it might be perceived? It's an insidious feeling, isn't it? That pause, that nagging voice in the back of your head that whispers, "What will they think of me?" It's a quiet yet powerful force that shapes so many of our actions, and the more you let it dictate your life, the more you realize this isn't really your life. It's a patchwork of compromises, stitched together by the expectations, judgments, and opinions of others. But what if you made the decision right now to stop fearing rejection? What if you embraced being disliked, not as a defensive mechanism, but as a source of empowerment? It's a radical idea, isn't it? The thought that you could find freedom, even joy, in disapproval. But the truth is, when you start seeing being disliked as a natural part of living authentically, everything changes. Let's start by confronting the fear itself. Why are we so afraid of being disliked? From the time we're young, we're taught to prioritize harmony, to avoid conflict, and to seek approval. It's baked into our social conditioning. In school, we're rewarded for fitting in, for raising our hands at the right time, for coloring inside the lines. At home, we're encouraged to behave in ways that please our family. And as we grow older, these patterns deepen. At the core of it is a primal instinct. For most of human history, survival depended on the group. If you were rejected by your tribe, it could mean death. Approval wasn't just a nice to have, it was essential for staying alive. Fast forward to today, and those same instincts are still with us, even though the stakes have changed. Rejection no longer means being left to fend for yourself in the wilderness, but it can still feel just as threatening. Now, add modern culture to the mix. Social media in particular amplifies our need for approval. We measure our worth in likes, followers, and comments. We curate our lives to look a certain way, not necessarily because it's true to who we are, but because it's what we think others will accept or admire. But here's the irony: the more we chase approval, the less satisfied we feel. It's like drinking salt water when you're thirsty. It might quench your thirst momentarily, but it leaves you even more parched in the long run. That's because approval seeking is a trap. When you base your worth on what others think, you hand them the keys to your happiness. Their opinions become the driving force behind your decisions, your actions, and even your identity. And here's the thing: people's opinions are fleeting. What pleases them today might irritate them tomorrow. If you build your life around something so unstable, how can you ever find peace? This is where embracing being disliked becomes transformative. When you let go of the need to be universally liked, you reclaim your power. You stop trying to fit into everyone else's mold and start defining yourself on your own terms. It's not about becoming indifferent or reckless. It's about recognizing that being disliked isn't the end of the world. It's a natural consequence of living authentically. Think about the people you admire most. Are they universally liked? Probably not. In fact, many of them faced significant criticism, especially when they chose to go against the grain. Take someone like Rosa Parks. Her decision to stand up against racial injustice was deeply unpopular among those who supported segregation. But she didn't let that stop her, because she knew her values mattered more than the approval of the majority. Or consider an innovator like Steve Jobs. His unrelenting focus on his vision often made him difficult to work with. He wasn't concerned with being liked. He was concerned with creating something extraordinary. and while his methods weren't always popular, the results speak for themselves. The lesson here is simple. Great lives are rarely built on a foundation of universal approval. They're built on conviction, courage, and authenticity. And those things often come with a side of disapproval. Here's another way to look at it. When someone dislikes you, it says more about them than it does about you. Their judgment is shaped by their own experiences, insecurities, and beliefs. You could do everything right and still not win their approval, because their perspective has nothing to do with you. Once you understand this, it becomes easier to let go of the fear of rejection. But let's be honest, letting go of that fear is easier said than done. It takes practice to build the kind of resilience that allows you to stand firm in the face of criticism. One way to start is by rethinking how you see disapproval. Instead of viewing it as a failure, try seeing it as a sign that you're living authentically. After all, if everyone likes you, it probably means you're playing it too safe. Start with small acts of defiance. Say no to a request that doesn't align with your values. Share an opinion that might be unpopular. Take a risk, even if it invites criticism. Each time you do, you'll realize that the world doesn't fall apart when someone disapproves of you. In fact, you'll feel stronger for staying true to yourself. Another strategy is to focus on your values. When you're clear about what you stand for, it becomes easier to make decisions without worrying about what others think. Write down the principles that matter most to you, things like honesty, kindness, or courage. Use them as a compass to guide your actions. When criticism comes, remind yourself that staying true to your values is more important than gaining approval. Over time, you'll start to notice something incredible. The less you care about being liked, the more authentic your relationships become. People will either accept you for who you are or drift away, and that's okay. The ones who stay will respect you for your authenticity, not for a version of yourself that you created to please them. This shift doesn't just benefit your relationships, it spills over into every aspect of your life. At work, you'll find yourself contributing ideas more freely without worrying about whether they'll be well received. In your personal life, you'll feel more confident pursuing your passions, even if they don't align with what others expect of you. And in your inner world, you'll experience a sense of peace that comes from knowing you're living a life that's true to you. Of course, this isn't a one-time decision. Embracing being disliked is a practice, one that requires daily courage and self-reflection. But the more you do it, the easier it becomes. And the more you'll realize that the fear of rejection was never as big or as powerful as it seemed. Imagine waking up each morning without the weight of other people's expectations. Imagine speaking your truth, pursuing your goals, and building relationships based on mutual respect and authenticity. Imagine a life where you no longer fear disapproval because you know that your worth isn't tied to what others think. That's the kind of freedom that comes from embracing being disliked, and it's a freedom that's available to you right now. Think for a moment about the power dynamics in approval seeking. When we crave approval, we unknowingly place ourselves in a submissive position. We give others the authority to decide our worth. Think about how often this happens in everyday situations. Maybe it's your boss, whose opinion dictates whether you speak up with a new idea. Maybe it's your social circle, where you avoid sharing a hobby or passion because it doesn't align with the group's interests. Or maybe it's a partner, a friend, or even a stranger online whose validation feels necessary. Every time we let someone else's opinion control our actions, we reinforce this dynamic. It's as if we're saying, "Your judgment matters more than my truth." But what if you flipped that script? What if you reclaimed that power? That's what embracing being disliked is all about. It's not defiance for the sake of rebellion, but rather a quiet, confident refusal to let others dictate how you live. When you fear being disliked, you're handing over a piece of yourself. It might be small at first, a withheld opinion here, a fake laugh there. But over time, those small concessions accumulate. Before you know it, you're living a life that feels hollow, a performance crafted to meet the expectations of others. This is why the fear of being disliked is so insidious. It's not the big moments of rejection that trap us, but the tiny daily choices to conform. Now, some exciting news. Our channel now offers a 24/7 live stream, streaming Stoic wisdom and insights around the clock. Plus, by joining our members club, you'll unlock exclusive benefits, deeper content dives, and personal insights. Join us on this journey, and let's build a meaningful life together. And I also humbly ask you to leave a comment, as it helps my channel immensely. If you do not know what to comment, just write "better every day" so I know you reached this far. And don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. Also, I've linked some books on Stoicism that helped me become the man I am today, and will also help you achieve a Stoic mindset. This fear also makes us easy to control. If someone knows you crave their approval, they can manipulate you with disapproval. Maybe it's a subtle comment that makes you feel inadequate. Maybe it's a withdrawal of affection that leaves you scrambling to win it back. These tactics are often unintentional, but their effects are real. The more you fear being disliked, the more power others have over you. Social media culture has only magnified this dynamic. Platforms like Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter thrive on approval. Likes, shares, and comments are their currency. The algorithms reward conformity to popular trends and punish authenticity that might challenge the status quo. It's easy to fall into the trap of curating a version of yourself designed to gain approval. But this digital performance can leave you feeling disconnected from who you really are. Embracing being disliked is the antidote to this. It's about shifting your focus from external validation to internal alignment. Instead of asking, "What will people think?" ask, "Is this true to me?" It's a simple but profound change that can transform your life. Consider this. When you let go of the need to be liked, you start making decisions based on your values, not on what's popular or socially acceptable. This doesn't mean you stop caring about others. It means you stop compromising your integrity to gain their approval. True relationships, the kind that are built on mutual respect and understanding, thrive in this space. And yet, the fear of rejection is deeply ingrained in us. So how do you begin to overcome it? One way is to reframe your perspective on criticism. Most of us see criticism as an attack, something to be avoided at all costs. But what if you saw it as an opportunity? The Stoic philosopher Seneca offers a powerful insight here. Criticism, he said, is an opportunity to practice patience, resilience, and perspective. When someone criticizes you, pause before reacting. Ask yourself, is there truth in their words? If so, use it as a chance to grow. If not, let it go. Their judgment doesn't define you. It's simply a reflection of their perspective. Another way to overcome the fear of rejection is to build your tolerance for discomfort. This might mean practicing small acts of defiance against social norms. Wear something bold that expresses your personality, even if it's unconventional. Share an honest opinion in a group discussion, even if it's unpopular. Each time you do, you'll strengthen your resilience and remind yourself that the world doesn't end when someone disapproves of you. Visualization can also be a powerful tool. Imagine living a life where you no longer feared judgment. Picture yourself pursuing a dream you've been holding back on because of what others might think. Imagine having a conversation where you speak your truth unapologetically. How would it feel to live that way? Visualization helps you internalize the idea that freedom from approval is possible. But perhaps the most important step is to identify and commit to your values. Take some time to reflect on what matters most to you. What do you stand for? What kind of person do you want to be? Write it down. Keep it somewhere you can see it daily. These values will become your anchor, grounding you when the waves of criticism and disapproval come. The beauty of living this way is that it not only frees you, but it also attracts the right people into your life. When you're unapologetically yourself, you naturally draw in those who resonate with your values and push away those who don't. This might sound harsh, but it's actually a gift. It means your relationships will be built on authenticity, not performance. History offers countless examples of this principle in action. Think about figures like Nelson Mandela, who faced harsh criticism and imprisonment for his beliefs but remained steadfast. Or Malala Yousafzai, who risked her life to advocate for girls' education despite intense opposition. These individuals weren't driven by a need to be liked. They were driven by a commitment to their values. Even in less dramatic circumstances, the principle holds true. In your own life, you've likely experienced moments where staying true to yourself led to stronger connections, even if it meant losing some relationships along the way. This isn't to say that embracing being disliked is easy. It takes courage to stand in your truth when it feels like the world is against you. But the more you practice, the easier it becomes. Over time, you'll realize that the fear of rejection was never as big as it seemed. And here's the paradox. The less you care about being liked, the more people will respect you. Authenticity is magnetic. When you stop trying to please everyone, you give others permission to do the same. You create a space where real, meaningful connections can thrive. So, where do you start? Begin by asking yourself, what would I do differently if I weren't afraid of being disliked? Write it down. Then take one small step toward that vision. Say no to something you don't want to do, even if it disappoints someone. Share a passion you've been hiding because it's not cool. Each act of courage will bring you closer to a life of freedom and authenticity. Remember, being disliked isn't a failure. It's a sign that you're living in alignment with your values. And in the end, that's what matters most. The opinions of others will come and go, but your relationship with yourself is for life. Choose to live it on your terms. Let's reflect on something simple yet profound. No one escapes being disliked. No matter how kind, generous, or accommodating you are, there will always be someone who disagrees with you, misunderstands you, or simply doesn't like you for reasons that have nothing to do with you. Once you truly accept this, it becomes clear that chasing universal approval is not just exhausting, it's impossible. Think about the most celebrated people in history. Figures like Gandhi, Martin Luther King Jr., and Mother Teresa, individuals known for their kindness and compassion, still had their critics. Even the most well-intentioned acts can be misunderstood or viewed through a critical lens. If people like them faced criticism, what makes any of us think we can escape it? And yet, many of us spend a lifetime trying to do just that. We tiptoe around sensitive topics, silence our opinions, and contort ourselves into shapes we think will be more likable. The result? We lose sight of who we really are. And the more we sacrifice our authenticity, the harder it becomes to reclaim it. This is why embracing being disliked isn't just empowering, it's essential. It's the only way to break free from the invisible chains that keep us trapped in a cycle of approval seeking. When you stop trying to be all things to all people, you create space to discover who you truly are and what you truly want. Now, you might be thinking, but won't being disliked mean I'll end up alone? It's a natural fear. After all, humans are social creatures, and connection is one of our deepest needs. But here's the paradox. The more you embrace being disliked, the stronger your connections become. Why? Because the relationships that remain are built on mutual respect and authenticity, not on pretense or performance. When you stop fearing rejection, you attract people who appreciate you for who you are, not for who you're pretending to be. These are the people who will stand by you, not because they always agree with you, but because they value your honesty and integrity. At the same time, you'll let go of relationships that were built on shallow foundations. And while that might feel like a loss, it's actually a gain in freedom, in clarity, and in self-respect. But what about criticism? Doesn't it sting to be judged, even when you're living authentically? Of course it does. We're only human, and rejection hurts. But there's a way to shift your perspective on criticism that makes it less personal and more manageable. First, remind yourself that criticism often says more about the critic than it does about you. When someone lashes out or judges you harshly, it's usually a reflection of their own insecurities, fears, or biases. For example, a person who criticizes your ambition might be projecting their own fears of failure. Understanding this doesn't mean you ignore all criticism, but it helps you see it in context. Second, treat criticism as neutral information. Ask yourself, is there something I can learn from this? If the answer is yes, take it as an opportunity to grow. If the answer is no, let it go. Not all feedback deserves your attention. The key is to discern what's constructive and what's not. Building resilience to criticism is like building a muscle. It takes practice and repetition. Start small. The next time someone criticizes you, pause before reacting. Take a deep breath and remind yourself that their opinion doesn't define you. Over time, you'll find that criticism loses its sting. Another strategy for embracing being disliked is to focus on your inner compass. Instead of looking outward for validation, look inward. What values guide you? What kind of person do you want to be? When you align your actions with your values, you create a sense of self-worth that isn't dependent on external approval. This inner alignment is what philosophers like Marcus Aurelius spoke of. In his Meditations, he reminds us that what truly matters is the goodness of our actions, not how others perceive them. When you act with integrity, you can find peace, even in the face of criticism. Similarly, Buddhist philosophy teaches the importance of detachment from praise and blame. Both are seen as fleeting, impermanent states that have no bearing on your true self. By letting go of attachment to external validation, you free yourself from the emotional highs and lows that come with it. So, how can you start embracing being disliked in practical terms? One way is to build small habits that reinforce your authenticity. For example, start each day with a reflection on your values. Ask yourself, what do I want to stand for today? At the end of the day, take a few minutes to journal about moments when you stayed true to yourself. Celebrate those moments, no matter how small they seem. Another practical step is to practice assertiveness. This doesn't mean being aggressive or confrontational. It means expressing your needs, boundaries, and opinions clearly and confidently. For instance, if someone asks you to do something that doesn't align with your priorities, practice saying, "I appreciate you asking, but I can't commit to that right now." The first few times you do this, it might feel uncomfortable, but with practice, you'll find that asserting yourself becomes second nature. Mindfulness and meditation can also be powerful tools. When you meditate, you learn to observe your thoughts without judgment. This practice helps you detach from the stories you tell yourself about rejection or disapproval. Over time, you'll find that the fear of being disliked loses its grip on you. Perhaps the most important practice of all is self-compassion. Remember, you're human. You'll make mistakes, and you'll face criticism, but none of that diminishes your worth. Treat yourself with the same kindness and understanding you would offer a friend. When you nurture your relationship with yourself, you become less dependent on the approval of others. In the end, embracing being disliked isn't about pushing people away or living in isolation. It's about stepping into your truth, unapologetically. It's about realizing that your worth isn't determined by how many people like you, but by how authentically you live. So, the next time you catch yourself holding back because of what others might think, ask yourself, am I living for them or for me? And remember, the freedom you seek is on the other side of that fear. By embracing being disliked, you unlock a life of greater clarity, purpose, and connection. You free yourself from the exhausting cycle of approval seeking and step into a space where authenticity thrives. It's not an easy path, but it's the only path to a life that truly belongs to you. Now, if any part of this message has been helpful to you, leave us your like and comment, helping the algorithm recommend it to someone who needs it at this time. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss new videos. And if you look through the videos we've already uploaded, you're sure to find something to take with you. Have a good day.